Hello, I'm Scott Stewart, and this is the weekly Main Street Media TV high school football wrap-up show. Well, week 2 lived up all the hype, and we've got the wrap-up from all our Main Street Media of Tennessee newspapers' coverage of teams across Middle Tennessee, including your favorite team. Strap in as we join our sports editors and sports writers across the mid-state to find out how each of your local high school teams did on the field last week. And maybe we'll just get a peek at what you can expect from your local Main Street Media of Tennessee newspaper this week. If you are seeing this in Middle Tennessee, make sure you go to mainstreetmediatn.com to find the local newspaper serving your community. And while you're there, maybe sign up for a subscription so you don't miss any of the local news, sports, and more your local newspaper has for you. Let's get this week's high school football wrap started and head on over to Wade Neely in western Middle Tennessee.
What's up, folks? Wade Neely here. I'm your sports editor in Hickman County, Dickson County, and Cheatham County, and it's time for a recap of what we saw from our teams in week 2 of the high school football season. I'll start with the Hickman County Bulldogs. They were flying high after that week 1 victory on the road up at Harpeth, but they hit the skids a little bit Friday night, falling 43-20. Second half really got away from Hickman County down the stretch, and again, Waverly comes in and knocks off the Bulldogs. Back and forth contest, Hickman County led 7-0 at the end of 1. Waverly kind of rises from the grave, as it were, and they pick up not 1, not 2, but 3 different scores in the second quarter, and they end up taking a lead 22-14 at the break. Hickman County, not to be denied, they come marching right back to start the third, crawling back within 2 points, missing a 2-point try that would have tied the ball game. Unfortunately for Hickman County, that was their final points of the night. And again, it was Waverly running away down the stretch. They led that game 43-20 as the game entered the fourth. Neither team putting points on the board. 1-1 are the Hickman County Bulldogs. On to Cheatham County now. 3 different games to update you guys on here. Sycamore. War Eagle suffered a tough loss on the road, 25-22, up a classification, taking on Greenbrier. They got on the board early. Sycamore did with a safety. Cody Scalf and Landon Hinman linked up for 2 first-half touchdowns. Sycamore leading that game at the break, 15-13. Scalf with a 3rd touchdown pass in the 3rd quarter, but not to be denied, at home were those Greenbrier Bobcats. They came roaring back and clawing their way to victory, cashing in on a blocked punt down the stretch to secure the win. Tough loss there for Sycamore, who's had really 2 hard-fought contests to open their high school football season. Back at home in Cheatham County, Harpeth was at home yet again for a 2nd straight week. Big improvement in week 2, but they still fall short, 23-20, as McEwen comes in and grabs a nice win. Teams trading scores early. It was 7-7 after 1. The Indians led that game at the break, 14-7. McEwen comes back, though. Touchdowns in the second half and 2-point conversions were good. And again, McEwen pulls away down the stretch and wins that game in Harpeth, 23-20. Maddox Wilson, 2nd straight week we've seen the freshman quarterback. This time may see him for a while as Jaden Stromat went down, the starter for the Indians. But Wilson throws his 2nd touchdown pass of the year. John Michael Neely, Jake Parsley, and Cameron Haddon with the TDs in defeat for the Indians. Finally, Cheatham County. Man, they had to wait nearly 2 years to savor victory at home after their stadium was under renovations all of 24. But back at Mike Giroux Field, I was on hand, and I'll tell you what, folks, it was a fantastic scene and a great win as they knock off visiting Glencliff 40-20. Defense with 2 interceptions for touchdowns, 1 for the first score of the night, and then 1 for the last score of the night. As Lucas Harrington did the goods early, and it was Xavier Atkinson down the stretch. In the middle, Glencliff led that game 20-8 at one point, but it was ground and pound football as Cheatham County goes old school. They had a 14-play drive that covered 83 yards and chewed up like 7.5 minutes of clock. It was a thing of beauty, folks, and it was all done on the ground. Walker Hobbs finishing the night, 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. Roger Gonzalez and Gunnar Orange adding the other scores in addition to those 2 on defense that I mentioned a moment ago. I've got all the recaps that I've given you thus far. Casey Patrick has got the rest of the goods from Hickman, Dickson, and Cheatham. So I'm going to turn it over to him. And for now, folks, Wade Neely saying so long. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Wade. Now let's get more Western Middle Tennessee scores and highlights from Casey Patrick.
Hi, my name is Casey Patrick. I'm the sports reporter for the Dickson Post, Cheatham County Exchange, and the Hickman County Times. I'm going to give you a little rundown of some of the football games that happened last Friday in my coverage area. I was at the East Hickman Montgomery Central game. Ended up being a double overtime game. It was a lot of fun to watch from an outsider's perspective. Of course, I'm not the coach for either team, so I think both coaches had a lot of negatives that they didn't like from their team that night, but they both had a lot of positives as well. East Hickman was able to get the win 18-12 in double overtime. It was crazy because both teams scored in the first minute. East Hickman scored on their second play from scrimmage, and then Montgomery Central scored on the ensuing kickoff. East Hickman scored, I think, 3 or 4 plays later. So about 5 minutes into the game, it was 12-6, and East Hickman led. Montgomery Central was able to return a 100-yard fumble return to tie the game just before half. The entire second half, both teams went scoreless, and then the first overtime they both went scoreless, and the second overtime, East Hickman and backup quarterback Drake Cole, who was actually thrown into the starting role due to an injury, Drake Cole was able to get into the end zone to give the Eagles the win. Like I said, it was a lot of fun from my perspective to watch. 18-12, East Hickman getting the win. Now moving over to Dixon. Dixon County was on the road last week at Laverne. The Cougars moved to 2-0 with a 38-22 win over Laverne. And Creekwood falls to 0-2. The Redhawks lost 19-13 at Lawson. Both of those two teams, Dixon County and Creekwood, will meet this Friday out in Charlotte. That's the game I'll be at. Y'all stay safe and have a good evening.
Thanks, Casey. It's time to take a quick break to hear from our amazing sponsors. We'll be right back after this.
He shoots, and he scores!
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
Welcome back, and let's move on over to Northwest Middle Tennessee and hear from Calvin White.
Hello everybody, this is Calvin White, Northwest Regional Sports Editor for Main Street Preps, Sports Editor for Main Street Clarksville, the Robertson County Connection, and the Houston County Herald. Here to give you a quick recap of all of the Week 2 high school football action in the Northwest region. Starting in Montgomery County, on Thursday night, Clarksville Academy beats Fort Campbell 45-0. The Cougars start 2-0. They match their win total from all of last season. Springfield takes the 102nd edition of the Battle of the Bridge 19-7 over Clarksville. Clarksville starts 0-2 while Springfield moves to 2-0. Kirkwood wins 39-14 over Rossview. Northeast shuts out West Creek 38-0. Wilson Central wins 45-14 over Northwest. East Hickman downs Montgomery Central 18-12 in double overtime. And White House Heritage beats Kenwood 35-10. Moving over to Robertson County, like I mentioned a second ago, Springfield 19-7 over Clarksville. White House Heritage 35-10 over Kenwood. East Robertson shuts out JP2 24-0. Greenbrier gets his first win of the season after going winless last year. They beat Sycamore 25-22. And Joe Burns moves to 2-0 with a 40-0 win over Ballard Memorial out of Kentucky. White House goes on a last-second scoring drive in the last couple of minutes of the game to beat DeKalb County 20-13 and get their first win under first-year head coach Atlee Pond. And finally, in Robertson County, Grundy County beats Innovation Academy 64-6. And over in Houston County, running back Preston Mitchell rushed for 175 yards and 2 scores for the Fighting Irish, but they fall to Lewis County 40-21. That'll do it for all of our high school recap action in the Northwest Central region. I'm Calvin White. I'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Calvin. It's time to move down to Southern Middle Tennessee and Maurice Patton.
Week 2 of high school football here in Southern Middle Tennessee got started on a Thursday night as Mount Pleasant and Zion Christian squared off. The host Tigers taking care of business 49-0. Pretty big way, obviously, but a touching moment took place in the second quarter of this one as Jalen Smith took a 4-yard shovel pass from Cale Scott and got into the end zone with that and took a moment to pay tribute to his sister, Bianca Smith, who had died the day before in a car wreck in Columbia. Bianca Smith passing away on Wednesday. Her older brother, Jalen Smith, getting into the end zone and paying tribute to her. Called it a once-in-a-lifetime moment, being able to score a touchdown in her memory. Obviously, a touching moment for him, for the Mount Pleasant football team and that community. And obviously, our thoughts are with them and with the Smith family on the loss of his sister, Bianca Smith, at the age of 16. But again, another big win for Mount Pleasant coming off of their 41-0 win over Battle Creek in week 1. Another solid performance out of Caden McCrory, the running back, with 132 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Also, again, Cale Scott completing all 14 of his passes for 205 yards and 4 touchdowns. Mount Pleasant 49, Zion Christian nothing on Thursday. Swinging into Friday's action, had some drama down at Summertown as the Eagles opened their new stadium. A close one late with Wayne County. Senior Bradley Hoffman kicks a late field goal, 30-yarder, puts Summertown ahead by 2. Wayne County trying to rally late, driving the field, throws an interception, and it's Bradley Hoffman coming up with it. So Hoffman kicks the game-winning field goal and then seals the deal with a pickoff as Summertown edges Wayne County 16-14 to open up the new stadium there in Summertown. Congrats to the Eagles. A little further south in Lawrence County, it was the Lawrence County Wildcats going on the road to take on Loretto in the annual Van Johnson Cup matchup. And it was all Wildcats all the time, starting with a Demetrius Silva 35-yard pick 6 on the first Loretto possession of the game. Lawrence County was never slowed. Final score, Wildcats 48, Mustangs nothing in that one. Lawrence County improving to 2-0 for the first time since 2022. Big win there for Lawrence County following last week's win over Summertown in the season opener. Giles County, second straight game at the Brickyard, second straight Class 5A opponent, but a different outcome this time around. As sophomore David Bridges rushes for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns, junior Xavier Randolph throws for 169 yards and 2 touchdowns, and the Bobcats get Henry County 27-14. Giles County improving to 1-1 with that victory following their season opening loss to Page at the Brickyard. So big win for the Bobcats. Matchup of Raiders, it's Richland and Spring Hill up in Linville. Richland gets up early in this one by 3 touchdowns. Spring Hill roars back behind Lionel Brooks, but it was the host Raiders holding on for a 28-19 victory in this one. Jake Sands scored 3 touchdowns. Richland again led 21-0 at the half. Spring Hill rallied back, cut into that. Richland gets a touchdown to go up 28-13. Lionel Brooks returns the ensuing kickoff 94 yards for a touchdown, but that was as close as Spring Hill would get. Again, final score in this one, Richland 28, Spring Hill 19. Up in Murray County, it was Columbia Central getting a huge night out of sophomore Jamari Brown. Touched the ball 5 times, the receiver cornerback did. All 5 of those touches wound up in the end zone. 3 receptions for touchdowns, wound up catching 3 balls for 128 yards again and 3 touchdowns from 60, 12, and 56 yards. Also had a 41-yard pick 6 and had another interception that went to the end zone but was called back on an illegal block. So again, 5 touches for Jamari Brown. He got to the end zone 5 times, 4 of them counted in Columbia Central's 51-12 win over Battle Creek. Also, quarterback Daniel Booker ran for 132 yards and a pair of touchdowns, threw for 205 yards and 4 touchdowns. Big night for both Daniel Booker and for Jamari Brown in that one in Columbia Central's 51-12 win over Battle Creek. Obviously overshadowed, but Colton Barba and Chris Lemming got the Grizzlies on the scoreboard twice. The first 2 touchdowns in varsity play for Battle Creek. The first one from 75 yards, the second one from Barba to Lemming for 26 yards. Nice little combination there for the Grizzlies, but a tough loss there. Again, Columbia Central 51, Battle Creek 12, the final. Columbia Academy goes to Battleground Academy and takes a tough loss 69-0 as the defending Division II AA runner-up gets the best of the Division IIA runner-up from last year. Columbia Academy, 84 total yards, 9 first downs. Tough night for the Bulldogs there up in Franklin. Wrap things up with a couple of 23-21 outcomes as Nolensville defeated Summit 23-21, hitting a late field goal. Nolensville had led this one 20-0. Summit roars back and takes the lead 21-20. Helping that effort was Michael Crutcher, who had an 85-yard pick six in that one, also caught 4 passes for 104 yards. But again, Nolensville hits a field goal late to win that one 23-21. Meanwhile, Lincoln County gets out of Independence with a 23-21 win as a late field goal attempt by Independence on the final play of the game, as a matter of fact, was off the mark. Kind of marred a big night for Independence quarterback Matthew Horner, who threw for 223 yards and a pair of touchdowns. But again, Lincoln County 23, Independence 21. That's going to do it from Southern Middle Tennessee. I'm Maurice Patton. We'll see y'all later this week.
Thank you, Maurice. Okay, it's time to hear from our sponsors again. We'll be right back after this.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
When the arena lights dim for a concert, or when the crowd becomes one at a big game, you can almost feel like you're the biggest fan. But who's your biggest fan? It's the person that will get you home safely after a night of drinking. It's the person who looks out for your life to make sure you leave the stadium with someone sober. This could be a designated driver or someone who offers to get you a ride share. Because in Tennessee, fans don't let fans drive drunk. Brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, a division of the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security.
Okay, we're back and we're ready to move on up to North Central Middle Tennessee, where we will hear from Blaine Kellar. Take it away, Blaine.
North Central Regional Sports Editor Blaine Kellar here, hoping you had a great Labor Day weekend. And in case you missed it, it's time for some scores and more from our North Central region of Main Street Preps. That's Sumner, Davidson, and Williamson counties. You can find all of this info online at mainstreetpreps.com. as well as our 4 print publications, the Gallatin News, Hendersonville Standard, Portland Sun, and Main Street Nashville. As always, we'll start in Sumner County, and first, the game I was at on Friday night. Kentucky baseball commitment Caden Powell returning to form as it Beach's quarterback after a Week 1 loss in Wilson County against Green Hill. The Buccaneers returned to the same area, this time winning 29-0 against the Mount Juliet Golden Bears. East Tennessee State commitment Shelton Swafford rushed for a pair of touchdowns, continuing his strong start to the year. But it was Powell who picked up his first passing score after alternating series with quarterback Sawyer Phillips. In the first game, he commandeered a bulk of the work and impressed in his second game back. He's actually nearing Beach's all-time career passing yardage mark. He'll have a chance to hit that against Henry County this week. Other scores in the area include a pair of game-winning drives by two Sumner County teams, VMI commitment and Gallatin quarterback Jackson Straub, leading the Green Wave to a win in Franklin, being a 23-20 final score. Straub hit a late touchdown pass in the closing moments there to help Gallatin take down Josh Atkins, a former Gallatin assistant himself, who now leads the Admirals. The other score, White House winning 20-13 against DeKalb County on the road. Adley Pond picks up his first win as the Blue Devils head coach. Again, another late game-winning drive by White House to seal the deal. Station Camp also picked up a big win, 32-31 against Rockville. That was a wild game. The Bison led 17-0 before falling behind 31-17, all to win it thanks to a Caden Moore touchdown pass and a Caden Moore 2-point reception. Big win by the Bison. They moved to 2-0 under head coach Chris Bain. Speaking of 2-0, Portland still unbeaten on the season. They dismantled Liberty Creek 31-0. Other scores in Sumner County include Hendersonville falling 31-20 against Smyrna, debuting their new home bleachers in that game. Westmoreland also lost their, dropping to 0-2 as well as Hendersonville. The Eagles fell 35-15 to reigning state champion Macon County. That's your scores in Sumner. One more to note, actually. JP2 and head coach Rock Patton fell 24-0 to East Robertson. Those are your scores in Sumner County. Here are the games that we have coverage of on Main Street Nashville that you can look forward to. Brentwood Academy dismantled, ran away from Brentwood on Friday night in the Battle of Granny White, winning 45-21. Running back Larry Sanders counted for a few scores, having a handful of touchdowns on his season, just 2 games in. The running back shined for the Eagles, as did multiple members of their offense. Brentwood Academy, a big test on Friday. They take on Baylor. Other scores, CPA winning 42-34 against Procone, thanks to a wild fumble recovery play, going for 99 yards in favor of the Lions. Nashville Christian took a stunner over Ensworth in overtime. Georgia commitment and quarterback for the Eagles, Jared Curtis, had over 300 total yards and 5 touchdowns. Nashville Christian gets the win 42-41 in overtime against Ensworth. Another one to look out for on MainStreetPreps.com. Riverdale won 35-0 against Zach Mettenberger's father, Ryan. The Irish trying to find a rhythm after Mettenberger took over for former coach Brian Rector. Again, you can find all these scores at MainStreetPreps.com. Stories with them too, and our 4 print publications, Main Street Nashville, the Gallatin News, the Hendersonville Standard, and the Portland Sun. We will see you back here next week, and even sooner than that with our preview show, getting ready for more games across the Mid-State.
Thank you, Blaine. Last but not least, we'll go to East Middle Tennessee with David Wilson.
Everybody, this is David Wilson, East Middle Regional Sports Editor for Main Street Preps, here to give you a quick recap of all the Week 2 games across Wilson and Rutherford County. We'll start things off in Wilson County, where it was a high-scoring affair on Friday night between Friendship Christian and Fayetteville, and it was the visiting Commanders squeaking out a 50-48 win down in Lincoln County. Wilson Boyd chipped in a game-winning field goal with 6 seconds remaining to help John McNeil record his 299th career win at Friendship Christian. Freshman running back Ryder Walcott, the younger brother of former TLSLA Mr. Football finalist Tyson Walcott, filled in for the injured Jade McGowan in the first quarter and rushed for 200 yards and 4 scores in this one. Quarterback Blake Waldorf passed for 161 yards and 1 touchdown, also added a rushing touchdown of his own. Friendship Christian moves to 2-0, and they will host visiting Mount Juliet next week. On the Hill, it was a much-anticipated matchup between the Class 5A Page Patriots and the 6A Green Hill Hawks, and it was Page picking up a 44-21 win over Green Hill on Friday night. The Patriots ran for 300 yards on the ground and scored on 8 drives. Green Hill quarterback and UT Barn committed Kent Burrows unofficially 14 of 28 passing for 161 yards and 2 total touchdowns. He connected with Aiden Sadler, who had unofficially 6 catches for 89 yards and a scoring touchdown in that matchup for Green Hill. It was a festive night also in Lebanon, as the Blue Devils honored former radio voice and alum Tommy Bryan with the Tommy Bryan press box in their home opener against Siegel, and the Blue Devils gave a performance worthy of Tommy with a 35-3 victory over the visiting Stars. Gian Etza, the running back, had 21 carries for 117 yards and 4 total touchdowns in this one. Austin Harrison, the Blue Devils senior quarterback, also threw for 2 scores, including a pass to Etza in this matchup. Lebanon is 2-0 for the first time since 2022. Beach picked up its first win of the season as they blanked Mount Juliet 29-0 Friday night at the Bear Den. Mount Juliet still, through the first 2 weeks, has not scored an offensive point. It was shut out this weekend by the visiting Bucks, who got their steam with Caden Powell and Shelton Swafford also picking up scores in this one. Out in East Tennessee, it was Concord Christian defeating Mount Juliet Christian by a final score of 42-7. Former Tennessee Vols quarterback Steve Matthews leading the Lions in that one, helping them to get their first win since moving to 11-man football with the Telos AA. Out in Gordonsville, it was the host Tigers defeating Watertown by the final score of 17-6. To snap the streak where the road team had won 5 consecutive meetings between these two rivals out on the east part of town. Watertown's lone touchdown came from quarterback Garrett Davis in this one. Wilson Central moved to 2-0 on Friday night. They defeated visiting Northwest out of Clarksville 45-14. It was a turnover fest for the Wildcats as they recorded four different players recorded interceptions, and they also blocked a punt with A.J. Henry returning it for a touchdown. Running back Chaz Martin continued his great start to the season, rushed for 123 yards and 3 touchdowns in this one. Out in Rutherford County, some Thursday night action. Blackman moved to 2-0 on that season. They were all over Cane Ridge on Thursday by a final score of 42-6. Eagleville blanked Community on Thursday night as well, 42-0. And over at MTSU, PCA picked up a 42-13 win over at Cannon County. Friday night action, Oakland moved to 2-0 on its season. They went up to Kentucky and defeated Huntington out of West Virginia by a final score of 49-0. It was Dixon County defeating Laverne 38-22. Stewart's Creek all over Stratford by a final score of 49-18. Riverdale blanked visiting Zach Mettenberger and the Father Ryan Fighting Irish 35-0. It was GCA all over Middle Tennessee Christian 41-0. Station Camp squeaked out a 32-31 win over Rockville, and it was Smyrna defeating Hendersonville and dropping them to 0-2 in the season, 31-20. That's final scores across this week. Hope you enjoyed your Labor Day holiday weekend. We'll look forward to talking to you guys next week.
And that is our high school football wrap-up for this week. Now, don't forget that our Main Street Media TV has got a lot of high school, college, and professional-based shows lined up for you this season. Make sure you keep an eye on your local newspaper social media pages or download the Main Street Media TV app where you can catch all our great programming every single day. Also, don't miss our weekly high school football preview show with these same sports editors and reporters who are covering your school's team every week. The preview show is scheduled for every Thursday at 1 p.m. during high school football season. And keep an ear out for Main Street Media's Thursday Night Football audio broadcast with Wade Neely and Casey Patrick, calling games all across Middle Tennessee this season. It's set to go live every Thursday night at 6:45. All right, we'll see you right back here next Tuesday with the High School Football Wrap-Up Show on Main Street Media TV.